Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast. Immediately following the 2-0 Merseyside derby win at a raucous Anfield, the Reds showed flashes of their old devastating selves with a pair of brilliant breakaway goals either side of half-time. To cap a good performance, we can hope the catalyst for recovery. An overdue strike from Salah and a first Reds goal for Cody Gakpo were enough for a comfortable win that also keeps Everton in the bottom three. Nice. To talk through a satisfying evening, I'm joined by Dave Usher, the editor at liverpool.way.co.uk, and Paul Natton, both of whom were at Anfield tonight. Dave, you're just in from the match. For me, watching at home, it was almost everything that we could have asked for from the evening compared to the expectations going into the stadium. How did you see it from your spec?
Yeah, played much better than I was expecting us to. I say that, but I thought we'd do all right. I was just worried that we wouldn't take chances and then we'd end up getting done on a set piece or something. I thought we played well and we took our chances at the right times, and that's made it like comfortable in the end. We scored our goal just as they'd got a little bit of a foothold in the game, and they'd had a couple of set pieces, almost scored, and then we've broke away and we've scored, and that's like a massive kick in the bollocks to them, because they just must have been fancying the chances a little bit at that point. So you take the wind out of the sails with that, then you come out second half, and obviously Everton are thinking, maybe we can just try to get back into this now, and then we score immediately. And once you get two against a team like that, you're fine. 1-0 does not change how they're going to play at all. It's when you get these teams like Dyche's Burnley, Everton now, and just like shit teams who want to just get behind the ball and frustrate you. 1-0 doesn't do anything. It doesn't change how they play, because they all they're ever going to do is get to 80 minutes and then they'll have a go. So you've got to get the second goal, and from the moment we got the second goal, there was no way back for Everton. And really, we should have won 4 or 5 there, because as soon as they had to actually play, it gets to 2-0, and immediately Everton have then got to try and play, and they can't play. Yeah. And we start nicking it off them in midfield because they can't play football. They're just not good. And, we nicked it so many times, and, we chances on the break and that, which we should have taken 1 or 2 of them. I'm not particularly bothered that we didn't, because the main thing was just getting the win. And we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, about what it means for us moving forward. Going into that tonight, I wasn't even thinking about let's win to get back on track, or maybe top 4, all of that stuff. None of that was even in my head. It was purely, let's just win this, because I do not want to be responsible for them staying up. If they stay up by like a point or 2, and it's because they've won at Anfield or something, I'd really struggle to deal with that. Whereas now, if they stay up by a point or 2 now, well, okay, I can just carry on blaming Arsenal like I did last year. It's Arsenal's fault, it's not our fault. We've done our job, we took care of business, we made sure they didn't get anything from Anfield, which was the priority for me. And now, moving forward, well, we'll worry about that from now. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that before tonight. Just wanted to win tonight. But I do think that it should help with confidence, because once we went 2-0 up, you could visibly see there was a difference.
Yeah,
not necessarily in every player.
Even 1-0.
Yeah, but I thought certain players just suddenly had like a little bit of swagger and a bit of a spring in the step, and it was like, okay, yeah, we're starting to look like us a little bit here. So hopefully, we can build on that now moving forward. But the main thing was just win tonight. Pop their bubble early as well, because like they won last week. You wouldn't believe how confident they were going into that. They were so like bordering on cocky even. And it's like, have you not looked at your record at Anfield? I know like that you've just beat Arsenal and we're in like the worst state we've been in God knows how long. But I just didn't really get like the bravado and the cockiness from Everton fans when like there's nothing to back that up really. So I'm just glad that we've popped their bubble. They're still in the bottom 3. We've beat them. Now we can start looking forwards, and we've taken care of business. So yeah, I'm happy.
Good stuff. Paul, it really felt to me like that first goal was bigger than it was in isolation. Like, they hit the post, we're 6 inches away from going 1-0 down in a manner that we all feared might happen before the game, them capitalising on a set piece, and then 15 seconds later the ball is in the net past Pickford. It just feels like it might be a little bit of a turning point for us. Yes, for the optics, and yes, for the opposition and how entertaining it was, but also just the turn in the fortunes. It's felt like a while since something like that happened.
Definitely. And I couldn't. I didn't realise it had hit the post until someone told us at half time. So yeah, I was oblivious to that really until obviously we'd gone in 1-0 up. But yeah, having watched it back now, Yeah, it was a real piece of luck, wasn't it? Because I don't think Alisson had done anything wrong. I don't think any of our players had done anything wrong, really. Everton, I think we saw against Arsenal, really good on set pieces, particularly corners. I think at Arsenal, I thought they were very impressive. In fact, I was quite surprised by how effective, how high quality the corners were, given that they should only been there, a matter of days against Arsenal. So that was my big concern tonight, was how we were going to deal with that. Now, particularly with the way we've been playing and the way we've been defending, I don't think you can point the finger at anybody in terms of that one. I think it was just a decent header, which we were fortunate, obviously, that it hit the post. But then we got to see, as Jules calls them, the racing snakes. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic to see. Just that quick fire back to front.
Yeah.
And listening to Mo's interview afterwards, Mo, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. I think we've already seen signs of a link up between Mo and Darwin. There's an understanding there, definitely. But Mo was really emphasising that in his interview and buzzing off Darwin. Mo was convinced Darwin's going to score goals. You could tell by the way he was talking, and he was really emphasising how fast Darwin is. But I tell you what, Mo absolutely shifted to get there after laying the ball off, put his head down and went for it. Really, really motored. It's easy to forget how fast Mo is when he gets going, and also, you may be getting to the stage now where you're expecting his pace to dip a little bit. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he just he's a little bit more measured in terms of when he uses it now. But he really shifted to get into position.
Gakpo's there as well, though, Paul. That's encouraging that he was up there as well.
Well, do you know, Dave? Honestly, I know everyone's been saying how he's slow.
He's not slow. He's just not quick.
But I don't think that's true. I just think he's just. I think you've seen moments where he bursts forward. He's more languid, I would say. He's got quite a languid style on the ball. But I think he has had moments where he's burst forward. What we've not seen is him shifting over distance.
I think he's probably quick over a longer distance, though. When he gets into a stride, I think over short distances he's not like Sadio, is he? Where it's like explosive over a short.
He's got
distance.
Very long legs, hasn't he? Once he lengthens his stride, he pulls away. I thought, absolutely fantastic. I mean, we can talk about absolute joke of Pickford's positioning for that one, but I don't really want to. I don't really want to put the dampers on that one, really, because that was a really good Liverpool goal, and I suppose my overarching thoughts about the whole performance and result tonight is that felt like really recognisably Liverpool, both individually and collectively. It felt like, I thought there wasn't a Liverpool player on the pitch who had a bad game. And I thought we saw a much more coherent press. I thought Hendo was brilliant in the press. I saw Fabinho look like something resembling a defensive midfielder again, which was encouraging.
He was fine, yeah.
Absolutely fine. Full-backs pushing on. The front three all played well. That looked like the real Mo tonight. First time we've seen him in a while. Gakpo looks like he's starting to understand that false nine position. And he said in his interview, actually, he did confirm what most of us have been thinking, that that's what Klopp wants him to play. That's the way the role's going to be. He's developing him as the new Bobby, I guess. I'm Bajcetic. I mean, wow. I mean, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I hadn't quite appreciated the scale and the speed of his development. So he was interviewed afterwards as well with Mo. Carrie gave him man of the match. I managed to watch quite a bit of this when I got back in just before we came on here. And he told the interviewer that just a year ago he was playing for the under-18s. He's never played a number 8 position. Yeah, but he's played. And then Klopp was laughing in his interview, saying, "Well, we moved him from centre back to play him number 6, and then we played him as an 8 tonight, and he's never played the position before." I mean, that lad has got the two things that stand out for me. I think I have an expectation now, not just with Liverpool. Most academies in the top flight with young lads coming through, technically they're all really good. You don't see players without the technique anymore, really. Young players coming through. But what really, really stands out for me are two things. One is read and understanding of the game. And two is composure. His composure is absolutely ridiculous. That was a derby today at Anfield. He was playing in a new position. And he just took everything in his stride. I mean, really is quite incredible, really, just how prodigious a talent he is. I mean, I am looking at him and thinking, how far can you go? Because I think every time I see him play, he goes up in my estimations. That was a big test tonight for a player that age. So yeah, very impressive. So yeah, just come back to me. Oh, sorry, went off on a bit of a tangent there. But overall, just recognisably us. And I'm thinking back to, we haven't seen much of that this season. Maybe against City, the City game, that was a good performance and a good result.
It wasn't like us though, was it? It was a different type of performance.
A different type of, yeah. But at least it was coherent, wasn't it? But I think tonight, that was, we defended well. Centre halves really good.
They were, both of them. Yeah,
Joe and Joel, both of them. Also interesting. I didn't think we didn't. The line was not as high. We didn't play such a ridiculously high line. I mean, it wasn't like we were dropping deep, but the line was just a little bit more circumspect, and I think that probably suited us well as well. So yeah, overall, great, really enjoyable. How good is it to come away from Anfield having had a good win and a good performance?
Yeah,
more of that, please.
And Dave, when you're having like a rough time in your life and you're kind of down in the dumps, you know what you do? You stick on an episode of like Only Fools or Red Dwarf or something like that. Sit down and laugh for a little while, and suddenly everything feels right with the world. Well, tonight we put on an episode of Everton, and so there's plenty to laugh about.
The cop took the piss tonight. They had all the chance out tonight. It was great. I thought we got a bit too early in the first half.
So did I.
With the going down. But there must have been about 7 or 8 variations on a theme. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you can see like it's definitely Robbo's favourite show. He's always amused, doesn't he? It's like, from where I'm sitting, the thing that happened, like with the big, like the kick-off that when Robbo's involved, like I'm not close to that, so I couldn't see like facial expressions or anything like that. But I seen what happened. I seen Pickford's barged into him. And I knew, without even before Robbo had probably even done it, I knew Robbo's reaction was not going to be to square up and get angry. I knew Robbo was just going to laugh in his face because that's what he does. I knew he was going to do it. And I didn't know until I got home and I seen the photographs of it where he's got angry Pickford and angry Cody and Robbo's just laughing in the faces. But I'm pissed off that Robbo got a yellow card because he didn't do anything.
He kicked the ball away.
Is that what he got booked for?
I think.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get. I know, he didn't get booked for that though. He definitely got booked for the skirmish. I know he played on after the whistle, but that's not what the booking was for. That was just a classic case of the ref booking the 2 players who so-called started it. But to me, unless there's something that I've not seen, Robbo's just stood there and had loads of them come steaming in and barging into him, and he's not reacted. He's not physically done anything. But he gets a yellow card. So what? Just laughing in someone's face is a yellow card now? No, it's a rule I'm not aware of.
Got ages before he played on for ages. There.
But that's not what he got booked for, Paul. I guarantee that he wouldn't have got booked if there hadn't been the big kick-off. He wouldn't have got booked for playing on after the whistle. And especially that fucking referee. I mean, the first half. How many fouls did they commit in the first half? Tarkowski was just basically bouncing around the pitch, just booting people. I think Decore as well. And, you can see our players
and what's that
how
number
many
8,
times?
Dave?
I'm not falling for that one, Paul. That's my gag. Don't be stealing me gags. I got John with that before the game, Chris.
No.
Chris, John was talking about...
Maybe 3 times.
He said, yeah, I know. I got him inside as well during the match as well. He said something about, that Onana. And I went, what's his name? And he went, Onana. And I went, what's his name? But I got him again during the match. It was when, when he went running through and he slid in and fouled Alisson.
Yeah.
And I went, who was that? He should have been booked there. And John, he went, it was Decore. And I was like, are you sure? I went, it's number 8. I don't, Decore's 16, isn't he? And he's like, I don't know. He said, it might have been Ghana Gay. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. I'm like, no, it wasn't him. I said, it's number 8. And he went, oh, yeah, that's Onana. And I went, what's his name? And he went, oh, no, fuck off. I almost got him again. Well, I want to get I'm totally sidetracked now. What were we on about there?
Robbo.
Yeah,
Robbo, yeah.
Robbo, like
And
just
the
laughing at
referee,
them.
you're
Yeah,
about the referee
yeah, but
as
the ref
well,
was. I mean, I don't know how they managed to get through that first half without having at least 2 players booked. I know they weren't like particularly bad fouls that they were doing, but it was just persistent. It was like every time we tried to attack, there was a foul.
The ref was always miles away from the play, I thought. He just didn't look like he was near the play most of the time. So he probably,
Talking to a couple of the lads at half
see
time,
what's going
Paul, on seeing as you just said that, it's funnily enough, we're talking to Ralph and Steve under the main stand at half time, and they both said exactly the same thing. Like, Steve was saying, like, the ref's heat map's going to just be like the centre circle. He said he's barely left the centre circle all night. But I never really noticed that, but you know, you bringing it up as well, so it's obviously like there's something in that if you've all seen it.
Little legs, that's what it was. He's got legs like Pickford's arm. He just couldn't cover the ground.
Yeah, he looks like he's getting on a bit, doesn't he? As well, he looks like he's in his 50s. Knocking.
It was it that Simon Hooper was
Hang
it?
on, steady on.
I haven't seen you doing much fucking running either, so...
No, and neither will you. These calves need looking after.
I'm not in my 50s yet, so I can laugh at that joke.
Oh man,
give me a couple of months.
3 months away.
Yeah.
There you go. Here's you trying to go into huge detail about how you've lost 10 miles an hour off your driver speed.
Yeah.
I think the answer might be in the fact that you're almost 50.
I know. I don't want to accept it, but I think that's what it is.
I feel like I have to be mean to you about it just because I'm feeling bad myself about being 41. Like, I turned 41 last week, and it feels way worse than 40 for some reason, because now I'm like actually in my 40s rather than just 40. So it's upsetting, but never mind. So really good first half overall. Like, we were right at it. The press was good. We used the ball well. I think we weren't doing that much. We didn't. Well, I think there was that one incident with Matip where he gave the ball away early, and had that gone awry, it would have been the same old story. But we got away with that one. But I thought our use of the ball was much better. I thought Hendo, he really seemed intent on making sure everybody knew that it's not the fact that his legs have gone, it's the fact that he was just tired and unfit, because I thought he really set the tempo for us in that first half. We were much better on like picking up those second balls, which has been non-existent in recent weeks. And I thought I said to you before the game, Dave, that I thought that we'd be okay tonight because Deitch wouldn't come after us. Like, he would give us time to grow into the game, which we haven't necessarily had in recent weeks in these games where it's been all of a sudden we're 1-0 down or 2-0 down, and it's been an uphill struggle immediately. And as you said earlier, like, he was never going to do anything but try and keep it 0-0 until 75, 80 minutes. And I think that helped us really, because we really grew into that first half, and the pressure built throughout. And so there was some nice interplay on the right hand side again. Like, Salah was beating people one-on-one for the first time in quite a long time. The interplay with him and Hendo and Trent was good, and just all over
ball
the
around
field.
the outside, Chris, from Trent to Mo. We played that about 5-6 times.
Second half especially, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to see us looking like ourselves again, and it's given us a bit of perhaps a platform to use this as a bit of a reference point to show that, we can still do it and we can build from here now. What
you said though before the game, it proved to be completely right, because I think Dyche mustn't have got the memo that we're shit now. All the other teams know it, and like, they all just go at us right early on. They're getting straight after us, scoring early goals.
Though, is it?
No, it's like he thought he was still playing like the old Liverpool, didn't he? And then by the end of the game, he was, because we got our confidence back during the game. And part of that's probably the way they set up. We basically did what we wanted to do there tonight. The only criticism I'd have in the first half is I didn't think we created enough. Other than that, everything was good. Like, we were good off the ball. We were good right up until the point when we got round the edge of the box. But then it's really difficult when there's so many players back there. It's hard playing through them, and we didn't really threaten that much. I think the best chance we had was probably Gakpo's header from Darwin's overhead kick. I'd have to see that again, but I thought he maybe should have done a bit better with that. It came at him quite quick. But
did come at him very fast, I thought.
But that was probably the best chance that we had, wasn't it? And Mo was looking sharp, but not really getting the chances. And then obviously we get the breakaway, and that changes everything, like, once you get in front. But no, the first half was like mostly satisfactory. I thought, we done a lot of the things that we've not been doing lately. We looked more like ourselves. It was always going to be like a slow road back. We were never going to just go and like score 5 or 6 and spank someone. But that's gone as well as we could have hoped for tonight, I think.
Yeah, Paul, Jurgen said after the game that we played the game that we wanted to play instead of playing the game that the opposition wanted to play, and I thought that was like a really significant point, because we were able to exert some semblance of control over the proceedings, and it wasn't panic stations and everything like that. And it does seem that's going to be key for us now on this road to recovery.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think that it was a really refreshing change from what we've seen for what feels like, well, ever since we came back really from the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's probably, Dave and I are always banging on about our terrible memories, but I can't remember a game since the World Cup where we were able to control it really, and really play our way. I mean, I think there is something in the point you were both making there about Dyche not having got the memo about the Liverpool that he was facing, because they didn't really put us under any pressure at all. And the one consistent we faced week after week recently is teams putting us under real pressure, going at us, trying to expose gaps particularly behind Trent, and trying to playing a high tempo, trying to play through us. Certainly putting pressure on us when we've got the ball, and we didn't really see any of that from Everton. But they're a poor side. They're not a good side. I think everyone was getting carried away. Obviously, the Everton fans, as Dave was saying earlier, but the media narrative throughout the week, everyone's getting carried away by that performance against Arsenal. I think maybe that performance against Arsenal, while certainly the set pieces were impressive, and he definitely galvanised them. You can't go over that. Was a good performance that they put in, a great result for them. But I wonder if what we've seen since from Arsenal has been just Arsenal's little wobble was as much a part of that as well, and it's just made everybody just forget in the lead up to this game that Everton are shite. They're really, really shite, and they've got nothing up front. I mean, that lad, when I saw him come out and knew nothing about him, I thought, oh, why? He's a big lad, him. Is he going to be a real threat on the corners? Do we need to be worried here? He looked like exactly what he is, a kid they've just pulled back from Sunderland off a loan deal.
That they offered no support whatsoever to, just left him completely isolated.
It was terrible how they left him on his own. What was he supposed to do? They were just hitting high balls up to him, and there was nobody within 30 yards of him.
You call him little boy lost if he wasn't such a big grok. So big boy lost. He was absolutely, but he was pointless in being there. I don't know what the point of playing him was. Why didn't they play one of the? Why didn't they play Damari Gray or even the other fella Morpay? It was just strange decision.
He just likes a big lad up front.
That's where Everton are, isn't it? So that's the issues that they've got. The crap. But it was still still a derby. It was still it was reasonably physical. They were well organised, and I'm well happy with that result. That was a great result. And what for me the big thing now is, it's the obvious thing to say, but it's got to be the beginning of something. It can't just be a one-off. I think I was having a look at the table before. We were talking about this before the game. And for me, rare for me, but I think it was the last one of all of us to say, no, top four's gone. But I also then was saying to Dan just before we went in, a win tonight and a good performance, you can then start to think again. But I think for me, if we go to Newcastle, get the 3 points there, then you do think, okay, there's still a long way to go. There's plenty of points to play for.
It's game on again if we beat Newcastle.
It is, but that's the test, isn't it? Though, don't you think?
Yeah.
That's where that shows that this really has been a turning point. Chris talking about a little bit of luck earlier when it hit the post, and maybe that could be a turning point both in the game and maybe could have gone to be something more. We've got to then carry this forward into the next game and get a win. Go away from home against the team that's had a good, much better first half to the season than we have, and get a win. And it shouldn't be beyond us. I watched Newcastle at the weekend, and they weren't all that at all.
They're punching well above the weight.
Definitely, and you can see that their tempo's dropped. There's a bit less of the Snydery that they were doing early on, they're not really a team that can score a lot of goals. So I think we've definitely got to be going there and thinking we need 3 points, and if that happens, suddenly the season we start to think, okay, there's something we can salvage here. I think yeah, isn't it amazing what a good win in the derby can do for you?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been hearing for a while now about how there's been a good week of training here and there, and it definitely hasn't been manifesting itself on the field, Dave. But I thought I don't think you've seen all of the post-match interviews yet, but I thought there was definitely a lot more conviction in what Mo said after the game. Like he said that it's been a really, really good week. Like they've worked really well all week, and you could tell that he meant it.
Yeah.
He, as far as he was concerned, the turnaround happened last weekend. And this is kind of a manifestation of, like this is the first time we've seen it publicly. Like, there seems to be more of a plan now. They know what they're doing a little bit more. It seems like where am I going with this? It just seems like they've stopped feeling sorry for themselves and wondering what to do about it, to a point where they have a plan to do something about it. And Klopp said similar things as well. And I just want to touch on Klopp really, because like just when you think you couldn't love him anymore, he comes out with those comments over the weekend about the personal responsibility that he feels to like get things right. And you saw him before the game talking about he used the word desperate. He was desperate for the win tonight, and then the sheer release of emotion when he comes to the Kop at the end. It was just nice to see him with a smile back on his face again, and it feels like he's relishing the chance to put this right.
Yeah, that's the one positive to come through all this, is like he's not wavering about, when people are saying, oh, Klopp might walk, he might not, think he's getting backed by the owners, or, he might not like this, he might not like that, he might just think I can do without it, and he's come out and just put all that to bed completely. He's like, no, I'm absolutely here for the long haul. He's relishing building a new team. That's the good thing about it. And he said the other week as well, didn't he, about like, he feels it's his responsibility, because if he was to walk away, someone else, it takes time to do it. So somebody else would have come in and had this bad run that we'd had, and everyone would be like, this is your fault, you're not up to the job. And he's like, that's not really happening with Klopp. We're not saying this is because Klopp doesn't know what he's doing. We're looking at every other possible reason for why things are going wrong, rather than saying, the manager doesn't know what he's doing. The one thing that we've got is the manager. Saying this before the game, like whatever problems we've got, at least we've got the manager. So that's a big thing. Like struggling teams, generally, you've got to find a new manager. We haven't got to do that because we've got the manager. And when he was saying about the training, he has been saying that a lot lately, but he's aware of that. I mean, he said himself, didn't he? He said, we've had a really good week of training, and I know I've said this before, and then it's not shown in the match. So you're probably listening to this and going, yeah, okay, well, let's see it on the pitch, which is all true. We are doing that, but they have shown it on the pitch. So now it's like, okay, so finally you have had a good week of training, and it's translating into what you've done on the pitch. Now, there may be other reasons for that. Everton's approach probably helped with that. But I don't really want to look at it from that point of view. I want to just look at us. We've done what we wanted to do there tonight. We've played well. The forwards have got a couple of goals. It's something for us to build on, and we've kept Everton in the bottom three.
Definitely. Paul, how was Anfield tonight? Because it came across on the TV super loud, super raucous, aggressive, supportive, just really good.
Yeah, probably the best atmosphere of the season, I'd say, wouldn't you, Dave?
Yeah.
I thought it was comfortably so. People were definitely responding. Even more flags out than normal beforehand. Loud, loads of songs. You'll Never Walk Alone was really loud at the start. And yeah, I mean, and as I said, the Everton baiting just really took on a life of its own, really.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of inventive songs in there, things being made up on the spur of the moment, and all kinds being thrown out there. Like I said, I thought we'd gone too soon in the first half, but clearly not. We were moving through the gears of the Everton baiting in the second half.
Can you recall any of the inventive songs?
Oh, you're speaking to the memory boys here, mate. No, I can't. There was loads, though.
You just take our word for it. It was funny. I can't really remember. I remember that I was sat there laughing at some of the things that were getting chanted.
I'm sure there'll be people with better memories who'll throw someone on the forum when they post the pod on the forum in the morning or tonight.
Your last trip to Anfield was one.
That's yeah. That
they were saying like this is your last trip to Anfield.
Yeah, it was, but the atmosphere was great throughout, and there's a nerviness has crept into the crowd. I think this season there's been a lot of nerviness, which does my head in. People sort of getting needlessly nervy about the way we played that we've done successfully for years, playing the ball round at the back. And there was none of that tonight either. There was no kind of like people moaning at the first hint of somebody dwelling on the ball at the back or someone passing it back to Alisson.
Well, yeah, but that's because the Everton players were all sat in their own half watching us do it. It's not like they were putting us under pressure.
True. But the atmosphere was. I mean, Klopp was really effusive about the atmosphere as well in his interview, wasn't he? He was really, really strong on that buzz and talking about how important it was. In fact, I think he said, "I'm in love with this crowd."
I thought he was going to burst into tears, man. He looked really emotional about it.
He was emotional, wasn't he? He was, yeah. It was great. And it was, do you know the big thing though, Chris, was to actually celebrate a goal at Anfield. I can't remember when's the last time we really went for it when we celebrated a goal at Anfield. It feels like forever.
Man City, probably.
And it was just that real buzz. I mean, it felt like, prior to this season, it felt like that was something we were doing every single week, celebrating great goals and really that real sense of excitement and euphoria when someone scores. So it was great to get two of them tonight. It was good, really enjoyable atmosphere, and I think the players appreciated it. Darwin quite clearly is someone who buzzes off the crowd and is buzzing off being a Liverpool player, and I think I think that's a relationship that will develop. Already the cop loves him, but I think he's barely got into second gear so far. Yeah. I think as he starts to move through the gears, I think that could become he's got a lot to do. He's got to prove himself. He's got to be scoring the goals. But I think there's real potential there with the relationship between the cop and a key player. And Mo is still clearly loved. You know what I mean? And I think it's the feeling's reciprocated. I think with the way Mo plays, it's so cool. It can go under the radar how much I think he loves playing for Liverpool. He really does love playing for us. He's committed the rest of his career to us, and was the comments he made after he signed that extension, that new contract, were that he didn't really want to go anywhere else. It's where he wanted to play, and I just think, I think there's an appreciation from all of the players. I think about how the fans have stood by them, and it was nice to get a little bit of payback from them tonight, because it was beating Everton's great, innit?
Mm. Mo had the bit between his teeth tonight. He just looked really at it and focused.
Yeah. I
mean, it's easy to say that because he scored. That definitely makes you look at things differently. But even like taking the goal away, I just felt like he looked really, just more like himself. He's been really passive lately, but he just looked more like aggressive and direct with the ball, and he just looked like Mo again tonight, I thought.
And strong on the ball, knocking into players who are coming at him
ridiculous.
As well.
When the ball's played up to him and he's facing his own goal, and he's got the defender just all over him, and he was just holding them off like with ease. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like that Ukrainian lad, he was trying to bully him, and Mo was just like holding him off with one hand, and then he's looking round, where am I going to pass it to? And it was just like he was holding off a little kid. I mean, Mo's like really small, but so fucking strong.
What did you think of Darwin tonight, Dave?
I thought he was quality. I just didn't think we got him the ball enough. I think if we could have got him the ball a bit more, I think he'd have just caused absolute havoc, because in the first probably 15, 20 minutes, we were looking for that diagonal ball to get him in behind Coleman. We were looking for that quite a lot, and we had a little bit of success with it. But then we kind of got away from it.
That's a total mismatch.
Yeah, it is. But we got away from that for whatever reason. Maybe Everton made it more difficult for us to do that. I don't know. But he wasn't as much of a factor. But anytime he had the ball, I felt like he was going to do something. I thought he was really lively. And the assist for the first goal, brilliant. Just devastating football, because basically it's just the two of them. The ball gets cleared to the edge of the box, and then after that, it's just Darwin and Mo, isn't it?
Do you know what worried me, Dave, in that one? As he's coming down, it's almost like, he gets his head down, he just goes, and he's going so fast. Yeah. He lifted his head up so late for the pass. It was only at the last minute that he looked up to see where Mo is, and then he lays on that absolutely perfect ball. Yeah. The pass was brilliant, I thought, considering how fast he was moving. I just think he looks dangerous. He looks like there's always something going to happen when he's around, and I think, all the things that I think you particularly said, Dave, about him. He's always involved, and he's busy and exciting, and there's a buzz when he's around the ball and he's on the pitch. But he just needs to have that little bit of composure in front of goal. I think that's spot on. That's absolutely spot on. And I think when that little bit of composure comes, we'll see a real player, because the composure was there in that pass tonight. That was not that was not like there was nothing fluky about that. He looked up, he saw where Salah was, and despite the fact that he's moving really, really quickly, he lays it on a plate for him. I think he has got to. Of course, he's got to prove it. He's still got a lot to do, but I think there's the makings of a really, really top player in there.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook.
No, definitely. I think he's going to be a great player, but I don't know how soon it's going to happen. But I do think he is going to be a great player.
I agree. It does feel like
an absolute force of nature. Just it's going to be so difficult for anyone to deal with him, but. Yeah, it just frustrates me that he's not got the goals he should have, and some of that's been bad luck, and some of it's where he's just got to do better. But the goals will come. But because we're in a bad run,
him to get one tonight.
I'm just getting impatient with him now, and I've backed him all season and defended him when he's missing chances. But because of the run we're in, we couldn't afford him to be missing chances, and him and Mo have missed a lot of chances, which have been costly for us. But hopefully now, that we can just kickstart our season again, and the goals will start flowing for him. But yeah, I thought he was really good tonight. I love watching him. When he's not playing, I'm gutted. It's mad. It's like if Darwin's not in the team, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't even want to watch this game now. But he's on the pitch, and it just transforms everything for me. I just
he's
find
genuinely exciting, isn't he? He's
there's just player. A real buzz when the ball's around him, because something's going to happen. It might not always be good, but something's going to happen.
I think Saturday's a big day for him, really. I'd like to see a little bit. I think most of the exciting performances we've seen from him have been at Anfield, where he's had that buoyancy from the raucousness of the crowd and everything. And I think in some of the away games we've seen, like the Brighton games and the Wolves games since we came back from the World Cup, we haven't seen so much from him. So if he can go to Newcastle on Saturday and repeat tonight's performance, that would be a big step forward for him, I think. Just getting some consistency and doing it away from Anfield as well would be really, really good to see. But there were certainly some positive signs tonight with the three of them. As we said at the start, Gakpo had a good game and deserved his goal. And it was important for him, Paul, just to get that first goal as well, because we haven't really seen him have many sights of goal, and the ones he has, he's tended to just balloon over the bar, and hopefully he can use this as a platform for to get some confidence, because he's clearly a confident lad. In his interview after the game with Carragher and Gary Neville, he was, they asked him what's his target for the rest of the season, and he just said to win every game. So that's what you want to hear, isn't it? And hopefully,
they laughed at that, and then he was sort of like deadpan response. What do you mean? Of course, we want to win every game playing for Liverpool. I think I felt a little bit sorry for him with the way. I think fans have overreacted to his modest start. I think it's been really difficult for him to come into a new team, in a new country, in a new league, where the team is an absolute shambles. And I think people have leapt to judgments about him far too soon. That was his 7th appearance tonight. And yes, he's a forward, and yes, he's got this reputation, but he's still a young player, and we're asking him to do lots and lots and lots of new things. I think he's all the things that I think that we saw tonight. He's decent. He's good on the ball. He's got good awareness. He's developing his tactical understanding, and he's adapting to a new position and starting to understand how to link up with the team. I think that's broadly been there. That's broadly been there. I think you can very much read his first few appearances in the context of that narrative, that he's a guy who's just adapting. I think the pace thing as well. I definitely think the issue about pace has been overdone, about him being slow. He's not slow. I just think he's adapting to this new position.
I don't think he's quick enough to play in the wing, though, Paul. That's my thing. It's not that he's slow. He's not slow at all. But he's not. Our system is like lightning quick wide players, and that's not him. But I do like him in the middle.
What we're seeing now is that is his position, isn't it? I mean, I think in my mind already, I'm already saying, but he's not a wide player. He's the new Bobby. Well, that's what he's supposed to be. He basically said as much, and Klopp,
He's
Klopp
quicker than Bobby.
Acknowledged it as well. He is quicker than Bobby, yeah, and he's a bit more generally mobile as well. Just a little bit lighter on his feet than Bobby is as well. Not just in terms of pace, but just in terms of a bit more nimble than Bobby is. Yeah. Bobby has that kind of blustering style sometimes, and Gakpo has the ball under a little bit more control than Bobby. Although everyone obviously, the players all rave about Bobby's technique, but I sometimes think in those situations Bobby's all sorts of blood and thunder sometimes, and the ball can get away from him. Gakpo, I think the ball seems to be under his control much more. But it's early days. It's really early days, and I think he's what's nice now though is great to see Jota coming back tonight. Right. Getting some minutes, and great to see Bobby back again. And these players now need to be under pressure for the places. They've got to be playing. They've got to be doing the business, and they've got to be scoring goals. So for him to get that goal tonight, that was probably well timed because he can't be thinking he's guaranteed to start with that competition coming back in. So really pleased for him.
You mentioned Jota, and I think Gakpo has kind of suffered a little bit from a little bit of recency bias from some of the players that we signed and come in and had immediate impacts. Like, you look at Luis Diaz last year, he came in and he was instantly red hot and spurred us onto that good run that almost helped us clean up everything. And Jota was a similar one when he came in. He had a really good start to his Liverpool career as well. Konate did as well. But before that, it was kind of the way that these players did need some time to adapt to the Klopp system, and they weren't necessarily introduced as starters every week because we had other people. Cody hasn't had that luxury. He's been an available body, so he's started every game since he signed. I don't think that would have been the case had everybody else been fit, and he would have had a little bit more time to get up to speed and a few substitute appearances here and there, coming on in situations that were advantageous to him and us, rather than an away game at Brighton where we're just getting absolutely battered. As you said, it's not been an ideal situation for him to come into. So I think what we can get from him now is a bonus, and he's obviously very much a player for the future too. So yeah, let's just chill out a little bit on that one.
I really think we can all forget just how fine-tuned Klopp's tactics are at their best. And how it requires every single moving part to be brilliantly coordinated, and that's why it's taken in the past a number of players time to adapt and to get to understand it and to come in more slowly. Robbo took his time, Fabinho did, others as well have taken time to adapt. I mean, Gini took time to really show his best football when he came into the side. And I think also the flip side of that is that it makes we look really exposed when the cogs are not functioning properly, when everyone isn't understanding each other's game, and the intricacies of positioning and responding to each other's movements isn't absolutely finely tuned. I think one of the things that was really encouraging tonight, just want to come back to Hendo again, just again, ridiculous how unappreciated it is by dickheads on Twitter who just clearly just don't know what they're watching. I mean, we talked about how really good his press is tonight, but other things like getting that right-hand side nailed down, that great triangle, the triangles that are our best are brilliant on that right with Trent and Hendo and Mo. Number of times Trent was pushing right forward into the centre-forward position. Who's dropping in at right back? Instantly, every time, it's Hendo. And just because that wasn't exposed, just because Everton didn't capitalise on the space that was left there, if you watch on the telly, you'd never notice that. But with Hendo, it's just second nature. His understanding of the game, his appreciation of his teammates and where they are and what they need and what the team requires from him at that moment in time. He's so impressive, I think. So impressive. Mm-hmm. And I think, as long as we can use him judiciously, I think he's got years ahead of him playing for Liverpool. He's a very, very clever, experienced footballer now. I think, I just think that, to me, exemplified what was best about tonight, is that the parts of the team were functioning together in a way that they haven't done what feels like nearly all season, to be honest.
On Hendo, though, I think anytime he drops below his absolute best, like the knives are out for him. You know, he has like the critics all just come out the woodwork, and it's like, oh, he's finished, get rid of him, too old, blah blah blah. And I think the problem has been like recently he's not been good since he's come back from the World Cup, and it's not just that he's not been good. Like the thing that concerned me a little bit was there was quotes from him where he was saying about how tired he is after the World Cup. It surprised him like that. He's feeling tired, and then there was something else when he said about like the mood in the dressing room was like really low after the game. And yeah, I'm sure it is, but it was just very un-Hendo like things that he was saying. And
to be saying that in public, you mean?
Yeah, and he wasn't playing well, and then he's been dropped for a few games, which it's dropped is one way of putting it, but also it's just he needed resting. You know, he was just not right physically, and I'm hoping now he's got back to the physical level that he needs to be, because he was really good tonight, but I knew he would be good tonight. He's always really good against Everton. Now that Divok's gone, Hendo's like the first name on the team sheet for me when we're playing Everton. It would have always been Divock before that. Hendo's the second name on the team sheet. Now Hendo's the first name because he's always really good in derby games. He just thrives in these games against Everton. So I knew he'd play well tonight, and he did. You know, no surprise. He was really good. We've got Newcastle at the weekend. That's another game that he's going to be well up for. So again, for me, he definitely starts that. Then the problem is you've got Real Madrid in the midweek. Well, do you want to start them like 2 games in 4 days or whatever? That's when you have to start looking at it about like maybe doing a bit of rotating. But I just hope that like he's over that the dip that he's had post World Cup, and he can finish the season strongly. And you know, he's 32, something like that. So yeah, I do think he needs to be phased out in the sense that the way Milner has been over recent years, but you've got to have him around. You know, you need just that mentality around the club. So, and when you look at Bajcetic, I mean, he's first choice now, whether it's first choice as the 6 or as the 8, whatever. When you're picking 3 midfield players out of the pool of midfield players that we've got, Bajcetic is in that 3, no question about it. He's played his way into that. And then you look at the squad tonight.
I think he might be the first choice at the moment.
Possibly, yeah. Now that Thiago's out, he might well be like the first choice. I think Thiago was the first name prior to that, but now he might be like your first midfield player at the moment. But you look at like in the squad tonight, I don't think Curtis was on the bench tonight. I don't think he made the squad, did he? Ox didn't make the squad.
No.
Carvalho's not made the squad. So Bajcetic has like come from pretty much nowhere. And not only are those players not getting on the bench, he's not even on the bench, he's in the team now. He's come from nowhere to be like first choice in the starting 11. And there's other players who could have been, there's other players who could have been picked ahead of him, more experienced players, and like some of those players are not even making the bench now.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like Mo said in this interview after the game, that he said Bajcetic he's been our best player. I know that's not a particularly high bar, but like, he's right, isn't he? Yeah. He's been our best player since we come back from the World Cup. So, like you said, I think was it you, Paul, who said like how high can his ceiling be? Well, you know, I'm looking forward to finding out. That's for sure. And perhaps the way the world works, this is something that needed to sort of happen to bring that into reality earlier than it otherwise might have done. So. All good moving forward on that front. And I think the thing with Hendo is that he's kind of been caught up, he hasn't been good, but there's been a loss of perspective with him. In this terrible run we had, people have been talking about how we need to have this mass clear out with basically everybody over the age of 30 needs to be thrown on the scrap heap immediately, and the other one should be worried too. Well, of course Jordan's not going to play every week. What needs to happen from this point onwards is he doesn't need to play 63 games in a goddamn season and be playing for England as well. Like, his role just needs to change. He can be equally valuable to us, just not by not playing every week. He doesn't need to be out there. He brings so much more to the table. He's the club captain. He's like a man that we all respect. We all have boundless respect for. The manager loves him. Like, most of the match-going fan base loves him. Like, it was just, I think he got caught up in the hysteria of everything going wrong at the same time, and there just needed to be a little bit of perspective there, and hopefully we'll get some of that now. The dust is settling a little bit and we can start looking forward again.
He's got to sack England off though, Chris.
Yeah, fucking right he has. Well, he should have done that before the World. Yeah.
That's what minds him. He wanted the World Cup. He wanted to play in the World Cup. Okay, that's fine. You played in the World Cup. You're 32 now. Milner, at that age, Milner was like, yeah, I'm not playing for England anymore, concentrating on my club career. You've got to do the same thing. And if he carries on playing for England, it's not going to help him with Liverpool. It's not going to help with Liverpool fans either. I mean, he's come back from the World Cup and he's goosed, and his form's been like bad for like the last month or so. Time to knock it on the head. Just concentrate on club football, because he's playing too many games.
He's given no indication he's going to do that.
No, he hasn't,
now.
and that's a mistake. He should sack it off.
Yeah, agreed. So what have we not talked about in terms of the game tonight? Paul, has anything stood out to you that we haven't addressed yet?
No, I think we probably covered it. I mean, I think centre halves. Have we talked about the centre halves much?
Difficult one, because they were very good, but they had nothing to play against.
Yeah, it's 2-on-1 all
They've
game,
done everything that you'd expect them to do. I thought like Joe Gomez was pretty much faultless tonight. Good on the ball, composed, really good performance. But it's hard to judge when like they only had like one striker.
No pressure.
He was like, had no support. He's not a top striker anyway. It was an easy night for them. They probably had like the easiest job on the pitch.
Maybe it's damning them with fake praise, but the fact that they came out of the game, pretty much flawlessly, that's definitely a step forward, isn't it?
Oh, it's a massive step forward.
Because they're under huge pressure, both of them, especially Joe Gomez.
And Virgil's back now. He's on the bench tonight, so you'd think he'd start next week. So, play for places. Who'd you play next week? Who stays in, do you think?
When you say next week, do you mean Newcastle?
Yeah.
Or are you thinking on to Madrid? Because
both.
I think
I'm thinking Virgil could play both.
Well, do you start Virgil on Saturday?
I would, give him a full week's training this week. He's been back in training last week. They thought this was a little bit too soon for him, but he'll have a full week. Centre halves don't have to do like loads of running, so I don't see why he couldn't play both games. So yeah, I'd bring him back in Newcastle games, and it's a tune-up for him to get ready for Real Madrid. But who plays alongside him's the question. I think I'd probably lean towards Matip, but on tonight's evidence, Gomez has got a legitimate case to say he should stay in, but
and there's a pedigree to that partnership as well. Well, there's a pedigree to Virgin Joel as well. He's another one I think has been absolutely. People have turned on Joe Gomez this season, and I do appreciate that he's had some absolute shockers, but that's in the context of everyone having shockers, and there's a really, really good player in there. For all the comments about, Kara's comments about, you see the quality of a centre-half when they're not playing with the leader. Well, he's 25 years old. He's 25 years old, and he's had injuries in the past, but we've also seen his levels can be really good. I think there's still a really good Liverpool player in there. I think he's going to be our first choice moving forward? Not while Virgil's there, but I certainly think he might be in the aftermath of that. But to be honest with you, though, after tonight, I'm pretty comfortable about who plays centre-half at the weekend.
They had nothing to do tonight, though, did they? It was 2-on-1. They did what they had to do well enough, but Newcastle's going to pose a different threat. Both of those two lads have made catastrophic mistakes since Christmas and made us look like mugs a couple of times. I'm not particularly happy with either of them, but because we've got to go for one, I'd probably go for Gomez, because Matip's catastrophic mistakes are more recent than Gomez's. That's the only reason. It's just a recency bias.
I think with Gomez, right, I think at times we're all guilty of judging players on their best games. And I think, Paul, you're doing this with Joe Gomez. You're looking at how good Joe Gomez is when he's playing really well and thinking, that's Joe Gomez, that's the player, who Joe Gomez is. And we all do it. I do it with some players as well. We're all guilty of it to some extent. And I think with Joe Gomez, I've gone past that point, because I was with you up until fairly recently. I looked at Joe Gomez and I'd be like, yeah, you know what? The ceiling's massive for Joe Gomez. What a player. He could be brilliant. But there comes a point where, if there's enough evidence there to say, well, is he ever going to be the player that's not making, stupid mistakes through, not, switching off, not paying attention, or, bad clearance? It's just mistakes. There's too many for me to have confidence that he's ever going to just completely eradicate them and be really good. And
I suppose I'd counter that by saying, I'd just come back to his age again. He's 25. That's still young for a centre-half.
Yeah, but 25's not 22, is he?
He had the two bad injuries. And he's also had stop-start injuries since.
You've got to factor that in as well, though, Paul.
Listen,
there's a pattern.
I can't deny that some of his performances have been very worrying recently. but there is a context. All I'm saying is that, and like as I said as well, I don't see him as, when everyone's fit, as first choice. For me, it's Virgil and Konate.
Yeah,
But all
agreed.
I'm saying is we've been very, very quick to collectively jump on the bandwagon of Joe Gomez is shit. Joe Gomez is, and I'm not saying necessarily on the pod, but Joe Gomez is not shit. Joe Gomez is a really good, really, really good centre half, and he's been through a tough time, and I want to see him, come back to that quality football again. And I think he's got it in him. He's definitely got it in him. It might need to be next to Virgil to show that, and he's got to get to the stage where he can stand on his own 2 feet. But he's still young in centre half terms. Virgil. How old was Virgil when he came to us? 26, 27.
Yeah.
And that was, and he came to us from Southampton. You know what I mean? And so that's when we started to see the real Virgil. At that stage, Virgil flew under the radar. You widely regard. And I'm only saying this to illustrate how centre halves develop differently to other players. I'm not saying Joe Gomez is going to be a Virgil. That's not my point. But Virgil was not being, even when we made that, when we signed him, people were not saying, I was, but most people weren't saying he's going to come in and be absolutely incredible and be absolutely perfect and be exactly what Liverpool needs, and then go on to be the best centre half comfortably in the world. Because there were question marks over him, and coincidentally, lots of question marks about Virgil were about his concentration and his focus, and making silly mistakes. And Joe Gomez there, and it's far too soon to be writing him off. And certainly, I think, as Chris just said there, I think I would, probably would start Virgil on Saturday, and I'd go with Gomez next to him.
Yeah, I'll give you credit on Virgil. You did say when even before we signed him, when we tried to sign him and we didn't get him, you did say like he'd be a transformational player and he'd be like best centre half in the world. So you did say all that. I'll give you full credit for that. I would also say though, Paul, if this summer we were to sign, I'm just trying to think someone off the top of my head, Michael Keane from Everton. If we were to sign Michael Keane, you would talk yourself into thinking that he'd be a good signing. You'd find a way to say, a new manager, a fresh start. He's seen something in him. But yeah, you did say that Virgil was going to be incredible, and you were right. With Joe Gomez, I just think too many mistakes. I don't think he's ever going to eradicate that. But that's not to say I'd be getting shut of him. You've got to have like 4 centre backs, and as far as number 4s go, you're not going to get many better fourth choice. Plus, he can fill in at right back as well. And we may need him to do that, because what the hell's happened to Calvin Ramsey? He's just like the invisible man. I think he's injured again.
I also wonder if Klopp actually doesn't like what he's seen. But
he's injured though, isn't he? He has missed a lot of time. It's not like he's even playing much for the 21s.
Is it also that thing where he just hasn't, the thing we were alluding to before, how some players take a long time to adapt tactically? On the training pitch, maybe he's just not getting it.
Possibly.
I was underwhelmed by the little we saw. I mean, it wasn't. I can't even remember what the game was. The game where he started, was it one of the?
It was a League Cup game, wasn't it?
I was underwhelmed by him then.
I thought he was.
Well. I just thought he played within himself. I expected to see more. Play with his pace and touch and technique. I thought we'd really see him. Try and show us something. I thought he was quite underwhelming. Anyway, I mean, who knows? I was quite excited about.
We've just beaten Everton at Anfield, lads. I don't think we need to be talking too much about the 4th choice right back at the moment. So let's moving swiftly on. But that does bring us neatly to the weekend, right? Massive game for us. I'm just looking at the league table now. We are currently 9 points behind Newcastle with a game in hand. We have 17 games left to play. If we win on Saturday, we'll still have that game in hand, but only be 6 points behind them. So from looking dead and buried and out of it, and I think I said this to you and Jules on Saturday, Dave, that if we just show some semblance of ourselves, that it's perfectly achievable. It's just a case of whether we will or not, because all of those other sides from 4th to 8th are dropping points left, right and centre. We have games in hand on all of them. It's definitely conceivable, but it's very much, it's entirely dependent on us finding our form. We've made a good start to that tonight, but it has to continue on Saturday. Yeah,
I heard on the radio when I was driving back, and it was Jamie O'Hara and Cundy, and a caller had rang in, a Liverpool fan, and he was saying don't know if we can get top 4 or not. You know, it's doable. Just don't know if we're gonna like produce the form we need, which is fair. I totally agree with that. And and Cundy said, you know, to get top 4, you're going to have to show like championship form, like, you know, championship winning form. I'm like, no, we're not. Nowhere near. Top 4 is not that difficult. It's to catch 4th place, which is Newcastle. Forget the 3 who are above. I mean, who knows what'll happen with them? They're dropping points as well. But let's just look at Newcastle, who are in 4th. To catch Newcastle is not that difficult. That's not the issue. The issue is not like, oh, you've got to get like basically win every game to do it. No, we haven't. Not even close to that. The problem is, can we win enough games? We don't have to win like nearly all of them, not even close. But we are going to have to win a significant number of games, and there's not
maybe
really
10 to 12 of them.
Yeah, but there's not much to suggest that we've got that kind of run of form in us at the moment. But things can change quickly. You know, if you get like a couple of wins, and then all of a sudden you're playing with a bit of confidence, because we've had like there's a lot of problems we've had this season, and there's a lot of flaws in this team and in the squad. But a big part of it recently, like it's been worse recently than it was before the World Cup break. You know, the World Cup break, we started to get our act together a little bit. You thought, all right, yeah, you know, we done all right at Tottenham away, didn't we? I think like we won the game before, the game after that as well, and it looked like we were potentially back on track, you know. And then we've come back and we've just been shite. Since the World Cup, we've been really bad, but we've got progressively worse because confidence has got progressively lower with each bad result that we've had. Now, we're still going to have a lot of the issues that we've had all season, but at least if we can get confidence back, it's not going to be like Brighton away and Wolves away. We're not going to be that level of shitness. You know, that's not going to be us. We get confidence back and we should be able to win a fair amount of games. Now, whether that's going to be enough to get 4th or not remains to be seen. But this idea that it's like mission impossible because teams are so far ahead of us, it's not about how far ahead they are. They're not that far ahead. It's about us and what we do.
Do you know, Dave, we were talking before the game, you were making the point about, you know, you've been really focused on the forwards and the lack of goals, and that's been the key issue. And we were both really talking about how goals can cover a multitude of sins, and I was mentioning how basically Rodgers almost won the title on the back of that idea. Really, you know, we basically had a team that wasn't that great defensively, but we just outscore everybody. You know,
we'd win 6-3, 5-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Conceding 3 goals away from home and still winning the game and stuff like that. And that for me is the key. I think that is the key. If we get that front line firing, that could be enough to carry us quite a long way. This is still, I've said it loads and loads and loads this season. This is a weird season. It's affecting clubs in different ways at different times, but it's affecting everybody. And I think some clubs we've not really seen the full extent yet of how it's going to affect them. You know, having a World Cup in the middle of a season is bizarre. And I think we know why it's affected us because of what we had to contend with last season, what we came off then, and we've gone into now. But I think it's just so unpredictable. I think there's lots more stories to come in the Premier League this season. I think at every level. I don't think that the league table might look totally different by the end of the season at every level of the table, top, middle, and bottom. So if we get scoring goals,
I mean, look at Tottenham. They win 1-0 against City, and then they go to Leicester and they get absolutely twatted 4-1.
Battered, yeah.
They're a weird team, Tottenham.
Mm-hmm. But that's just what Paul's saying, though. It's just like everything's all over the place. It feels like
Tottenham might be a bigger threat to 4th than Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
Brentford and Fulham going for top 4, going for the European places. You know that West Ham contending with relegation. There's all kinds of stuff in there. There's going to be loads of changes to the table. I think the table won't look anything like it does now at the end of the season. And there's, you know, the other thing as well has been, again, people have been quick to dismiss how we came back from the in the COVID season. We came back from that, you know, that falling off a cliff. Then I agree with what people have said. This is worse, and we've fallen off in multiple ways. But we have got a track record for turning things around. I'm ruling nothing else at the moment, but we have got to see. This has got to be a starting point now. I think we've really got to go to St James's Park on Saturday, and we need to win. And then let's see what happens next.
just to go back to the point about what we were talking about before the game, and I said about my biggest issues being the forwards, and you were saying, you know, if we can just start like scoring goals, it covers up everything else. It really does. Like some of the bad results we've had recently, if we've taken the chances that we've created in those games, it puts a totally different like slant on it, and you know, you're not looking at all like the shit defending and like, oh, the midfield's a problem and this. Like goals will mask a lot of that. The problems are still going to be there, and you can't win the league with those problems, but you can get top four with those issues as long as you're scoring enough goals. And we've got that in us.
It changes the media narrative as well, doesn't it? Which has clearly got into the players' heads.
We've got the forwards to do it, but we've got to start like putting the chances away and getting back to scoring 2, 3, 4 goals a game. And it doesn't matter if Joe Gomez makes a stupid mistake and we concede a goal, or if we switch off from a set piece and we give away a daft goal, or Trent's not paying attention on the back post and someone sneaks in, which almost happened tonight as well, by the way, when Tom Davis got in behind him. So shocking. You know, but these things are going to happen because there are certain like flaws that we've got. So these things are going to happen. But you know, Paul mentioned then about like the Rodgers team. I mean, some of the defending from that team was just outrageously shit, but it didn't matter because Suarez and Sturridge would just go up the other end and, like, you know, ably supported by like Coutinho and Sterling, and we were just tearing teams apart. And it didn't matter if we conceded 2 or even 3. And I'm not saying we need to go back to it like a point where like we're just totally gung ho and we're letting in 2, 3 goals or whatever, but the forwards have got to pull the fingers out, stop missing chances, become more clinical in front of goal, and that masks a lot of the failings that we've got, and it will get you fourth. It will. You'll get top 4 by scoring a lot of goals. You won't win leagues like that until you fix everything else. As we discovered ourselves, you know, we were a good team that scored loads of goals, but we had like just a weakness where like we were a bit of a soft touch at times, and we'd shoot ourselves in the foot, and a 3-0 lead wasn't safe. You know, we could blow a 3-0 lead, and then Virgil comes in. Suddenly, Alisson comes in, and suddenly that side of it was sorted. But we still had the goals, and then that's what takes you from like a 4th place team to a team that's challenging for the title. Now, we're a long way away from challenging for the title at the moment. You know, there's a lot of work needs to be done on the team. But in terms of getting 4th, just forwards, just start scoring and we'll be all right. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is now that we've got more options as well, right? Because like Bobby was banging him in at the start of the season. He was, I think, he was our top scorer early on, wasn't he? It was the best finishing we'd seen from him in a number of years. And you know, Jota is renowned for his Fowler-esque finishing, scoring all kinds of goals. So if these lads aren't delivering the goals, we've got players who have a track record of doing so. We've got Diaz to come back in as well, who should add like a little bit more electricity to our forward play too.
Massively.
So hugely.
Yeah,
hugely.
A massive loss, because he was one of the few who was still like playing at his level at the start of the season. Everyone else had dropped off. Most players had dropped off, not all of them, but Diaz was still looking great, and then he gets injured, so we've desperately missed him, and I just can't wait to have him back.
So Paul, we've talked about the team a little bit for the weekend. Other than Van Dijk coming in for one of the second centre halves, are you keeping the same 10?
I think I probably am, yeah. Where's Thiago up to?
No, he's a few weeks.
Oh, yeah, it's about a month or so, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, particularly as Fabinho looked recognisably Fabinho like tonight. Yeah, that would be my question. Would have been my question mark. But I think I probably apart from bringing Virgil in, I would leave it as is. Particularly as they've got 5 days now between now and the next game. So absolutely. I don't see why we need to capitalise on it, don't we? We need to build some momentum. Those players will be buzzing after tonight. They'll have enjoyed themselves. They'll have enjoyed the atmosphere. They know it's a derby. They've needed a win. They've got a good win. There'll be a positive mood around the place. Well, let's try and capitalise on that and go again. With the caveat that I think Virgil does need to come back in because we're going to need him for future games.
Do you think we'll win?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I do. I think Newcastle have looked... Sorry, just on that. Sorry, Dave. Just on that. I think... just to caveat that, I do think we'll win if we build on today's performance, because I think Newcastle are starting to dip. I watched their game at the weekend and they looked ordinary. And I don't know. I think Dave. I can't remember. We were talking before the pod or at the match, Dave, and I think we both said that they're punching above their weight. And I think,
Definitely.
I think we're starting to see that. I think they've got 1 win in 6. They're now the other 5 games they've drawn, but that's a lot of points. They dropped 10 points out of the last 18.
They're not scoring, but they're not conceding many either.
Well, they were a goal line
right.
clearance away from losing at Bournemouth on Saturday, so we got really fortunate with that one. It was a good clearance, but
I do think we'll win, Chris. Yeah.
How about you, Dave?
I think we all play pretty well. I think we'll be the better team. Whether we win or not, again, to me, it just comes down to the forwards. It's like if they put away the chances, because we will create chances. If they're clinical, they put the chances away, I do think we'll win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, though. I think we'll give 1 goal away. So the question is, I don't think we'll lose. I just don't know if we'll score enough goals to win. I'd like to think that we'll be buoyed by tonight's result. A bit of confidence for Gakpo's off the mark. Hopefully he'll have a spring in his step. Mo's got a goal again. I'd like to see Darwin run riot at Newcastle.
Yeah, Darwin's turn on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll go 2-1 with Darwin scoring and assisting.
All right,
I'm gonna go 1-0 Darwin. 1-0. I think we can keep a clean sheet. 1-0 Darwin.
Nice. All right, cool, good stuff. All right, well, I mean, an assist for Darwin tonight, a goal for Gakpo, and a goal for... I can never recall immediately after I've said it whether I've pronounced Gakpo's name right.
No, you usually haven't.
No. Right.
You did then. Yeah, like the second
you got
time.
It right,
you got it wrong initially, and then when you said...
I think I say Gakpo.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. Bollocks. All right. Well, as long as I'm mentioning it in the context of him scoring
Cody,
goals, it's all good.
Just call him Cody.
Yeah, Cody. All right, yeah, sounds good. Right, so yeah, on to Newcastle at the weekend. We are delighted to have recorded a podcast that was enjoyable, and we're not just whinging for an hour for a change. Hopefully that can continue when we go to Newcastle on Saturday. Dave and the boys will be back after the game for that one, but until then, we'll catch you soon.
The best word I can say, but will describe this was boom. Ooh, what was this? It was really good.